If you have said to yourself, I should write that, or if someone has said to you, you should write that, then I'm talking to you because you need to write. And that's why you're tuned in to yWrite. Hi, welcome to yWrite. I'm your host, Angela Grout, and thank you for tuning in to another episode of yWrite so you can learn why writers are writing and, of course, reflect about what you should be writing, because I know you have a story that needs to be told, and whether it's for the entire world to hear or perhaps maybe just your immediate family, you need to sit down and start writing your story. And, you know, your story could have a valuable lesson for your family or for the world. And my guest today is Carole Appleton, and Carole Appleton's story definitely is one of those. It not only helped her family, but it's definitely helping the world. Carole is a first-time author, and she just had her first book signing event in Corvallis, Oregon, which is exciting because here we are in Agawam, Massachusetts. She has written a book based on a true story of elder financial abuse. And she's written it with the hope to help protect generations to come, which is why I'm saying that if you've gone through something in your life, know that it can help somebody else. So I'm going to welcome Carole to the show, and I want to tell you a little bit more about her because she is from Springfield, Massachusetts, and she's now an elder advocate and an author, but she was very big. She had played a very big part in the Springfield Indians and the Falcons hockey franchises. We're going to talk a little bit about that. And she also ran the Amelia Park in Westfield, Massachusetts. The Amelia Park is also a hockey rink. She's drank from the Stanley Cup, and she's driven a Zamboni. So, you know, I'm a hockey lover. I think that's very cool. Her book is called Betrayal of Trust, and we're going to talk to her about how she got it published, why she wrote it. And I want to just say right now, welcome Carole Appleton to the show.
Thank you so much.
Hi, Carole. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good to see you.
It's been a while.
It has been a while. And, you know, you and I go back, I'm going to say decades.
Yeah, good idea. Good idea.
Let's just say decades right now. And, you know, we're friends on Facebook, and all of a sudden I see that, you know, you're in Oregon doing a book signing. And I'm like, time out, blow the whistle.
You weren't the only one.
I'm like, wait, you wrote a book and you're in Oregon doing a book signing? I'm confused right now because your life, from my perspective, has been HOCKEY.
Double hockey sticks.
Hockey sticks forever.
Yep.
I mean, you know, my father, you know, got involved with the Falcon organization. I went to the Springfield Indians games, you know, as a child. I've always done this, and this is how we met.
Columbus Day Italian Open.
Yes, Columbus Day Italian Open. My father, Phil Schumann, would sponsor the Columbus Day Italian Open, where a Falcons hockey player played golf with a foursome, and we raised money for Shriners Hospital, which we raised a lot of money, and it was an extreme event.
Yes, memories for all, let me tell you.
Memories for all. Yeah, I think we did it 10 years, right? 10,
yeah.
Something like that. And yeah, I used to call it Epcot.
Yeah, it definitely was. You went around the world.
Every hole you would stop and, you know, get something. You have food from all these restaurants, and it was very fun. I mean, Italians, we like to eat. But okay, so you do all this stuff with the hockey organizations.
Yeah.
And including you started a sled hockey program
through the Columbus Day Italian Open. Part of the proceeds actually started a reading program in the Springfield Public Schools, and we helped fund, along with Shriners Hospital, a sled hockey program for both children and adults.
Yeah, which is always amazing to be able to see these children be able to, and adults, play hockey.
Yeah.
But now all of a sudden you become an author.
Yep.
Is this a dream to write a book?
But yes, but I don't know if it was definitely the topic that I was thinking that I would do. You know, I worked a long time in hockey, had some great stories.
Yeah, I would think you would have a lot of good hockey stories. My first guest on this podcast was Bruce Landon, who wrote his book about hockey.
Yep.
And we both worked with him back then and things like that. But Betrayal of Trust is not about the betrayal of anything on the ice.
No. So I was, around 2014, I was trying to have some conversations with my grandmother. She was a snowbird, lived half the year in the north, half the year in the south. and couldn't find her for a while, couple of days. It was around
Okay.
Christmas.
I was like,
Well, it was you call every week, and
Well, these snowbirds in Florida are very active.
Yes, and
they are not just sitting around watching television.
That is true. She wouldn't do that. So she didn't answer phone calls. We leave message, and she was very good about, very specific. If you left a message for her, she was calling you back. So this happened for like a week, 10 days, and finally, first of the year, I get a call back from her, and she's like, I was in the hospital and almost died. And I was like,
What?
Wait, what's going on? Because there was always a plan in place. If something was to happen to her, certain people were going to get notified and notified us if we didn't happen to be there. So it was just like, okay, so now I've got to go through the circle of the family, find out if she did talk to anybody, and come to find out, they didn't.
So no one knew she was in the hospital.
Nobody knew. And then we got a call from her friend who happened to volunteer, and she's like, your grandmother is on the list in the hospital here. And I was like, wait, what? So all these pieces were starting to put yellow flags together, and we called some people that she trusted and kind of realized that there was some really bad things going on. And that was the downfall of 2015 for life.
So her health was declining. With
yeah.
dementia.
Well, her health, she was a widow,
Okay.
and she had, what we would call, back when we were younger, people had memory lapses. She wasn't like, typically you would think somebody with dementia or the conversation of dementia. It's all in stages.
Right.
So she was probably in the early stages, but it never really, you were just like, oh, she forgot that conversation because we don't see her ever.
She forgot to call us when she was in the hospital.
Yeah, no, it's
a big one.
it's one of those things. So like, she also had medication for that, and so she was fine during the morning. She'd wait for her next set of medicines, but there was also a gap where she may have gotten tired and not remember as much, and that's when a lot of the financial abuse started to happen.
Yeah, and that is a lot of what this book is about, the financial abuse that happens to elders, most particularly your grandmother. Although you've written it in a fictional tone.
Yes.
So it's not your grandmother. I mean,
well,
it's based on the story.
It's based on the story, yeah. And so not all of it is true, but I can tell you that the outlandish parts I honestly thought I was on the candid camera, or depending on the generation, I was getting punked for 10 years.
Wow.
Like, I would look around and say, okay, where is it? Something's weird. Like, this doesn't happen in real life. And all these, I kind of thought that it was so outlandish that I didn't choose to write this story. This story chose me.
Yeah, and that's what a lot of writers, including me, say. And it's like, oh, did you want to, dream to be an author? Yeah, I liked to write.
Yeah.
But did you dream you were going to write a story about elder abuse and financial topics?
No.
That wasn't the
field
you went in.
I'm not a lawyer. I'm not an accountant. I'm just a real life victim. And I was an investigator, not like your official investigator,
right, but family investigator.
And I found an awful lot of money, which would make somebody choke and be ill, and it was just weird how the whole thing panned out. I mean, in real life, I wrote a financial document of my grandmother's investments and her check registers, and it's 75 pages long.
Wow.
So that might be
about double that.
Yeah, right. So. And it had to be tiny print. So, and you put it all together, and you kind of just, the whole story was in that document, and
so
it
in
just kind of went
this
from there.
Story, did you just start one day, I'm going to sit down and write, or did you come up with like an outline of the topics that you wanted to touch on? Or the order that you wanted to tell the story? How did you get it on the page? Did you have a coach? Did you take a class?
I took a writing class, through continuing education, which was great. And it just kind of formed where I needed to take things. We did individual chapters, and then it was like, no, you shouldn't put this in the beginning. You should, that type of thing.
It's always fun to shuffle them around.
Yeah. And so I kind of wrote it on individual chapters.
Okay.
And didn't think that everything was going to fall into place. I've written it like 15 times probably. And I've had 5 titles.
Okay.
And
how did you come up with Betrayal of Trust?
well, it's funny because you want to get a catchy title,
Mm-hmm.
and when you look up titles, whether it be in whatever you look into, this was a popular one.
Mm-hmm.
However, I didn't see the theme of elder financial abuse, and the reason I chose it is, and I have the burnt check on the cover, is because that the aging generation uses checks for the most part.
Yes, and they trust everybody.
And that's the way, and that's the way they've been brought up, and I totally understand that.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that doesn't catch up with today's
and
today's
the
theft.
how do we word it? The aging community.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The aging community, not the elders. The aging community. They aren't very. And not to insult them, they're not super savvy on the computers. And nowadays, since a lot is on the computers, you do get this betrayal of trust with them because they trust the computer. Mm-hmm. And if something pops up, they're going to trust whatever it says is real. And I mean, my mother-in-law went through this where it popped up and said, call this number now or your computer, will explode in 2 minutes or whatever it said. Yeah. And of course she's calling and she's giving her credit card because you had to pay something to get it to work, and those are the baby steps to what happens.
Yeah. And it's interesting, we never knew what my grandmother's wealth was, and quite honestly your eyeballs would pop out if you actually knew what her wealth was. And not that it was, we didn't have the money before. We're not going to have the money now. And it is.
That was my question. Did you get the money back?
No. And you'll see the roadblocks and the journeys of how we had to go through all of it. But like my grandmother, for example, when I graduated college, I got one of the first Apple computers. Totally generous, wonderful graduation.
Her name is Carole Appleton.
See?
She should have an Apple computer.
Exactly. And my grandmother always wanted not the best of everything because she was a pretty casual woman, but she, like, if there's a new computer out, I should get this computer. Problem is she didn't necessarily know how to use it well. And so some of these people manipulated their way into her world and
convincing her she needed something.
Found out what her passwords were, or maybe changed her passwords so they could get into it, and realized what the wealth was and just slowly manipulated it out of her.
And so writing this book, as I said earlier to the audience, is like you're helping future generations. You're not sharing the story of this is how we got our money back.
Yeah, right.
But this is how we researched it and found out what was happening. Yeah. Which when someone reads this, that's going to help them.
Yeah, and it's funny because, like I said, I thought I was in a candid camera show, or punked, depending on the generation. Yeah. Everybody that's, there's obviously empathy and sympathy for the situation that we went through. But the thing is like they get mad, and that's what I want, because
the people reading it.
Yeah, the audience has been getting mad and hyper alert for these types of things. I mentioned that I did one in my hometown of Newburyport, Massachusetts, a book signing, and had 50 people show up, and one of the women that I volunteer with said, she's like, "You saved my dad." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And I just previously said, if I can help one person with this, then we're able to honor grandma in a way. And she helped, her father, she had never looked at his bank statements. She looked at it and matched it up with a suspicious looking withdrawal, and then she went to the bank. They stopped the debit card, put fraud alert on that, and she's like, "I'm going to look every month now." And she's like, "Now I'm so alert and so aware of what can possibly happen."
Yeah, because they can get you for like subscription fees.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? Once you buy one item, next thing you know, you're getting billed every month $39.99.
Yep.
And it's draining and draining and draining. Yep. And it, and it could happen to all of us, anyone. But with someone who's not really paying attention to their finances, this is where family does come into play. As you were beginning to write this, was your audience like, I hope I'm going to help somebody with this? Or was it like, I need to tell this story because it's so outlandish?
It is. I seriously, that is, and I went to my family and I said, look, And I also went to the legal teams as we went through this process.
Yeah, how
and I
did your
said,
family feel?
whatever we do, there will be I'm writing a book.
Mm-hmm.
I'm upfront about this because this is just ridiculous, honestly. I mean, nobody could believe it, and I wouldn't have believed it if I didn't go through it. And I think that kind of adds an element of like, that doesn't happen to people. And I'm like, well, hello, the crazy things that happened in this book actually happened. Yeah. And they'll be like, oh, wait a minute. So, you know, she was always extremely independent. Mm-hmm. Always did her finances. It was always, you write a check as soon as you put something on your credit card and all this stuff. And
you're writing the check as you're picking the mail out of your mailbox.
Exactly. And all of a sudden I'm seeing checks for like credit card companies at $30,000. And I was like, wait, hold on. Hold on, you know? Wow. And all kinds of very, very strange things. My other cousins were involved, and they would see things that would pop up, and a lot of times, you know, they're living their life. And she was, I don't need a power of attorney. I don't need a healthcare proxy. Oh. I'm fine with everything. I have everything set up until she didn't.
Yeah.
And she didn't realize she didn't
and there's
until
a lot that, you know, even myself, I'm starting to be very aware of like, okay, I need to put stuff in a trust for my kids. Mm-hmm. And, you know, learning how to get around the red tape of going into probate for things, or having things like kind of just stuck, because after you die you just think, oh, everything will go to my kids.
Yeah. And it's very interesting you say that, because I recently went to lunch with a friend, and she walks into the restaurant and she's like, hey, here's my friend, she's the author. And I was like, oh boy. But there was a young hostess there, and my friend had pumped up the book so much. She's like, so what do I have to do? And I said, well, you know, you could certainly purchase the book and read it, but it's probably not what you're looking to accomplish as your age group. But she mentioned that she was an only child, her parents were divorced, and I said, if there are things that you believe are important to them, you need to have the difficult conversation with your parents and say, are your wishes put together legally? Because I'm the only child here, and I just want to make sure that your stuff is, if you want me to have, whatever you want me to have, I wanted to make sure that it's legal. Right. Because if it's not, and you don't have, a lot of times people have wills that they made 30 years ago. Right. Terminology changes. Yep. Do a checkup.
And then you got to hire your own lawyer to get through this, and now it's costing you all this money to get what you're, I'm going to say, rightfully is yours, but it's just not legally protected.
Exactly. And so if you don't have a power of attorney listed in your will, or a healthcare proxy, or any kind of documentation that says that, then you're at risk of not having your wishes.
You really are becoming this elder advocate.
No, it's funny. I thought I was going to be a lawyer someday, but I was like, no lawsuits.
All of a sudden, I can, you know, you're going to be touring the country giving talks on this, and
it's real life. And then I looked at it when I worked in Medicare fraud. I looked at it and I'm like, okay, I'm 57, okay, and I look as you know, we hit the Medicare. It's the, that Medicare line that we're going to breach it eventually. But what's going to happen if we're already at billions of dollars in Medicare fraud, and let alone additional fraud, romance scams, elder fraud, that type of thing? I can guarantee you that whatever numbers they have out now, and this is just my personal opinion, but whatever numbers they have out now, you can times it by 4, because the stigma that there is with elder financial abuse, you know, whether it be romance scams, financial, you know, or somebody just takes their money. It's just a stigma. People won't report it because it's embarrassing.
It is embarrassing.
It's humiliating.
I mean, I've gone through this.
How did you do it differently?
So many. I mean, my aunt, this happened to her, and she didn't want to report it at first. And it's like, no, you need to report this. And the banks sometimes the banks can help you, depending on how quickly you get in touch with them. Like if you're getting, you know, someone takes advantage of you at noon, you can get to them by the end of the day. If it's on a Friday, you might be kind of screwed until Tuesday or something. Yeah. But, you know, it is embarrassing to say, oh, I got scammed.
Oh, yeah.
But you need to make, if the awareness is out there, it helps other people, and it does help stop the scammers, because they, you know, are going to be like, oh, if you're not going to report it, I can keep doing this.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And it's very, it's so casual, especially if you have, you know, our aging Americans who or aging Canadians, anybody who's aging, who doesn't like, things aren't, you haven't put it all quite together, but you notice that they forget
I see another book in your future.
they get
in how to put things together.
It's really funny,
especially because you work for Medicaid. You really do have this, background in, helping elder affairs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a social worker. I'm not a social worker. I'm not a lawyer. And I'm not an accountant.
And sometimes experience speaks louder than the education and all that stuff.
Yeah, and it's just like, I can't, like, in good conscience, like, I had to figure out this whole journey, like, dug a deep hole in what I was doing, who I was. I mean, it was brutal. And I had to figure out a way to come to terms with losing my grandmother the way we did, and all the things that she wanted for us.
Right.
And then how was I going to move forward? And one, honoring her, and two, my family was very supportive, extremely supportive.
To write the story.
Okay. Yeah. And that's partially why I use different names. But I mean, it's pretty easy to figure out who I was in the whole thing. But that's all right.
I'm not going to change names. Angel's Journey, my mom's real name is Joan, and here it's Joanna.
Yeah, right, exactly.
She's like, good thing you hit me.
But and the reason why I made it so generic, like not having specifics, I changed the names of the places and all that type of thing, because it doesn't matter.
Right, because it's relatable.
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter where you are. You can be in the north, south, east, or west. Yep. It's just it happens everywhere. I mean, I mentioned to you earlier, somebody in Seattle. I've got Canadian friends, and one of my Canadian friends worked in the geriatric field for a long time, and she's like, this happens constantly. Somebody lives down south and said, you got to come because it happens all the time. People need to be aware, because it's not a topic that is comfortable. It's not a topic, usually you would hear these from outreach from the police or, or
but getting it from
financial.
You're at that peer level.
It happened to you,
and I'm going to segue this a little bit, because this is how you market a book, and you're doing a great job marketing it. Like you said, you've reached out to, friends and colleagues and family, and I mean, of course, being associated with all these hockey organizations over the world, like, you have a big audience, you have a lot of followers around the country. So yes, people in all these different states have them, but then you can get the invitation to go there to do a talk.
Yeah.
And a lot of authors, I mean, first of all, the majority of authors are introverts. They want to just sit and write and put their stuff out, which is fine. But finding someone who can not only write a book, but talk about a book and keep the topic going and continually, like, making people aware of a bigger story than just the story in the book that's relatable is a great author platform.
Oh, thank you.
And I know, like, when you were in college, you never thought, oh, someday I hope I'm going to talk about elder financial abuse.
Yeah, no,
all around the country.
Never in a million. I mean, honestly,
this is what happens. Your story finds you.
Yeah, and my father started the whole process of figuring things out, and she had some wonderful friends who never got a dime from her. And then all of a sudden you see these checks being written for $30,000, $125,000, and like stock transactions and stuff like this. And I was like, hold on, these people are mentally manipulating, knowing her routines. This is way bigger than me.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that we're the only victims.
And
we just happen to find out.
And as we age, we do tend to fall into a routine and a pattern, which allows scammers to see that.
Yes.
And then, as the younger generation's trying to protect our families, it's like, okay, you want to help them change it up a little bit so that they're not going to fall victim. Yeah. So you wrote, how long did it take you to write the book?
Well, it depends on which phase you're talking about.
Well, and I get that, because it started in 2014, the idea.
It started, honestly, because every time I went down, and I went down monthly to Florida for almost 2.5 years. Wow. For extended periods of time. And it started out as the emails I sent to my family. Okay. And then I was just like, okay, let's put that together. And then, okay, why did I get ticked off about this particular check and different types of things like that? And my publisher, who happens to be a former hockey player, Eric Westrom, Westy,
Elite Publishing.
love him, love him. Thank you.
All right, Eric, we got to get you on the show to talk about
exactly,
this too.
Right. He's out in Minnesota, so
well, I can do a Zoom.
You're great. But he really kind of helped me. I wrote the book, and then he's like, okay, let's break it up. And I broke it up into 4 parts, and then we considered some transitions, and then we did reflections at the end of each part, which I really appreciate the fact that he really helped me with that.
That was probably healing for you too.
No,
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 I'm not healed from it yet.
This will never be a heal. It will always be a craw in my side, and you don't fully heal from something this traumatic. I mean, it's certainly not like all the rest. No offense to any other trauma in life, but this takes you to the core because it was betrayal by so many people that she had trusted for so long, and it was the catch was not to give away anything because and in the end she knew. She did know. That's what's like, I was ready to drop it. I was ready to drop it to, when she passed, you obviously go through a grieving stage, and then my uncle calls and tells me how it all went down, and I was just like, I can't do that. I can't drop it now. It has to keep going. Yeah. It has to keep going because we have to try and uncover every avenue to give her respect and dignity. So it'll always be that part, and I put it in the book that, I'm unfortunately affiliated with these evil humans for the rest of my life. But if I can say to somebody like, here, you avoid it. Right. Right, at least 100%. That's, yeah. So when you worked with Elite Publishing, Elite, when you were working with him, like, he would give you some deadlines to get some stuff done so that you could actually get it on the page. Did he do your formatting, and then he actually did the publication of the book for you? Yes. Nice. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. And did he help with your cover, or did you? How'd you get that cover? There was a little bit of give and take on that. We went through, I think, 3 or 4. Okay. And for some reason, I just kept going back to the burnt check. And because, as I mentioned, aging Americans do checks. Yeah. That's, of that age group. I mean, my grandmother passed when she was 90, and she just did checks. Did you ever see the Seinfeld episode, where I think it's Jerry's going to cash in all his grandmother's birthday checks? She sent him all these checks over the years. And he finally is going to cash them in. And it just reminds me of that burnt check, because all of a sudden there's no money in that account. Yeah. But it's really funny. Originally, it was just going to be a check. One. Yeah, one check. And then we came up with the little flame going down the middle. And I went, that seems to be it. Yeah. And that's funny, because the other day I was shopping, and this woman said that she had worked in elder financial fraud for a long time, and she's like, I gotta get your book. And we were talking about it, and I said, it's betrayal of trust, and I said, you gotta look for the one with the burnt check. She goes, burnt check? And I said, yep, that's it, the burnt check. Yeah. So nice. It worked out. Well, I'm thrilled that you have a book to help other people. Oh, thank you. Even more thrilled that it's helped one person right now that we know of. And, that's all we can hope when we do put a story out there, is it's influenced at least one person's life. Hopefully knowing that you've protected them helps you to maybe heal a little bit from the rawness of the anger that you have about this whole situation. It's come full circle. It's not anger. It's just mission. Yeah. No, it's total. I mean, and I think when someone does when people do get that book that's called to them, it does become your mission. Yeah. Because you're so passionate about it, and you have to establish what caused the passion, which of course you have family love and your grandmother. Yeah. So right there's passion, but then you get that mission of, what the story needs to do for someone. Right. Yeah. And it's a quick read, 200 pages, and that was on purpose. Yeah. Is a little larger font as well. Oh, yay. Not huge, but in the middle. But I like larger font. Yeah. I like short, quick reads. And it's funny, as you can see, our books are the same size, and I'm like, oh, we have very similar tastes. I'm always like, I like this size. It's very funny, though, because, my brother-in-law reads a lot, and one of the things that I knew it was going to be pretty good for people is because he read it back to back. And he doesn't do back to back. That's nice. And most people that I know have finished it in a day
Yep.
or in 2 days,
Mhm.
because one person reached out and they're like, I couldn't put the thing down. I had to find out what was going to happen next.
Well, I'm thinking with your brother-in-law, it's interesting because with him reading it, he's reading it from two different perspectives.
Oh,
too.
yeah, yeah.
Because he's got to kind of separate the family stuff
Yeah.
to the story.
Yeah.
So.
And part of it was that he got totally confused on, why'd you change all the names? Like, I don't know. But that's okay.
And it is, you got to have your own cheat sheet sometimes
did-
as a
I
writer.
did.
You're like, who is this guy again? Oh, yeah, that's him.
I had to do that. I had to do that for my family. They were like, wait, what?
Yeah, I did that so many times. Like
Yeah.
doing April Rain, I did it so many times. And then one of my first beta readers who was reading it, I originally had named her Gina, the girl Jessica.
Oh,
So then when I gave her an updated, she goes, who's Jessica?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, well, Jessica was Gina. And, Gina was Gina.
Yeah, and like I said, originally when I wrote the book, all the names were the same. And then I was like, whoa, this is not a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
And I just gave it to my family to say, okay, this is what I'm going to put out.
Did you let them
What I'm
pick
gonna
names for themselves?
No. We, they
Yeah.
were like, whatever you want to do.
Oh, that's so
and
good. It's so good you have a supportive family.
yeah, it's been very, and even now the teenagers are reading the book and they're like, so what do I need to ask you? And I said, okay, let's not go there.
Yeah. What do I need to ask you? How do I get the royalties from your
Yeah.
book after you've died?
Yeah, right.
That's what they're asking.
Yeah. No, they're good. They're good kids, but they were, I feel so bad for them because there was educational funds for them and would have helped my sisters and my cousins a lot.
Yeah.
I don't have kids of my own.
Your grandmother that's what her plan was, and now
I don't have kids myself, but the way that those kids got hurt from, it's been a struggle for their parents and stuff, and that was one of the things that I said, you know what? No, we're gonna make it happen.
Well, your grandmother, what's her name in this book again?
Dottie.
Yes. Grandma Dottie. We're gonna just thank you and apologize to you that you had to go through this story, but thank you for sharing this story. Well, can you tell the audience where they can get their copy of this book?
It's my honor. Thank you. It's on Amazon currently, and there will be other platforms available soon. And I appreciate reviews as well.
Yes.
I've got a lot of 5-star reviews, which is really great.
But it's hard to ask people to do. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm going to read your book, or they call you or send you a text. I loved it. And then you're like, would you write a review?
Yeah.
Because it really is important, and I've found now I'm getting a little bit better at asking.
Yeah.
But it's like, can you please put a review? And there's nothing better than word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Like when your friends, especially in the social media age, for them to be like, oh, I just read my friend's book. This is a great book. And whether they say they're your friend or not, if you're seeing someone post a book that they've liked, it stays in your head, and then you think, oh, I want to read that too.
Well, one of the first people was my former boss, so. Mr. Landon, thanks, Bruce.
Thanks, Bruce. Thanks, yeah. Him, when he came on the show, it was great because when we talked about his book and how his editor told him he had to take out some of the foul language out of his book because, talking in locker rooms, like, there's locker room talk and there's swearing, and that's the way it is. And I remember him saying how his editor said to him, you got to be careful who your audience is, like some people might get offended by this language. So, of course, he changed it. And I laughed. I said, my editor for April Rain literally said to me, Angela, you got scenes with these cops and your cops are too polite. Yeah. You got to throw some swears in. Yeah. So I said to Bruce, I go, well, so all the swears that were in your locker room are now in my book.
Nice.
I still kept it minimal, but
I kept it very minimal. And they're not even bad swears.
Yeah. You can tell a story without the swear, but sometimes you do need that authenticity.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
A cop's not gonna tell some guy who's in a fight like, please stop doing that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
All right, so they can go to Amazon for this. I'm gonna put the links on. I thank you so much for coming in.
So much.
I'm so glad that we've reconnected.
So awesome.
And now we're out of the hockey world a little bit and we're into the author world.
We are.
So
it's
great.
Crazy. The other day I told somebody, I'm like I wrote a book, and they were like, you're an author? And I was like, yeah, that's me. It's just crazy.
Oh, yes. So from us authors to you, I say thank you so much for tuning into another episode of yWrite. And, today we definitely learned why Carole Appleton's writing. And, I think that you might be an expert on some topic, or you may have experienced something in your life that you need to write about. And maybe it's to write for your family so that you can share that experience with them. But it might just be something that can help the whole world. So at this time of the program is when I'm going to give you your writing prompt. So when the show is over, you set that timer and, you just start writing. So what I want you to do is, take a minute and think about something that's happened in your life that you could help a future generation with. And again, it doesn't have to be a bad experience. It might be a good experience. Who knows? Maybe you played sled hockey. Maybe you were a hockey player and you know exactly how to handle a stick. You might want to write about that experience because that could help someone. But you know what? If you have had some sort of experience that you can write about, and doesn't have to, she's written a book about having elderly fraud, but you might have had, who knows, a car accident and broke your leg, and you can talk about how you worked your way out of that. It will be helpful. So write your story and tune in again and keep binge watching these shows on YouTube and Spotify and wherever you are. And I thank you so much. Have a great day. I will see you next time.